Last but not least, even though producer Stone, made it out this way. I'm blaming you, Stone. I'm sorry. But NFC South, man, I'll spoilers here. Falcons have 9.5 and they're at the top. And then you look at other divisions, it's like 7.5 at the bottom. So we're going to start with the Panthers, who did have the number one pick. That was with the Bears this year. Sorry to remind you guys. But the Carolina Panthers are at 5.5 win total. Matt, I know how you feel about Deontay Johnson. Other than Deontay Johnson, how do you feel about the Carolina Panthers in 2024?
Yeah. We did a spoiler alert or peek behind the curtain. We did a fantasy bold predictions show that's coming out with Andy Behrens next week. We pre-taped it. I didn't say that on the I didn't say that on the show, but it's pre-taped. So we taped today. One of my bold predictions was Deontay Johnson would be a wide receiver 1 this year. I made the joke that the goofy meme of him saying I'll effing do it again and his eyes are going. That's me with Deontay Johnson. I'll do it again. But I'm not going to talk about Deontay Johnson here, even though I think he's the most important offseason acquisition that any team made.
I tell you, I went on a different show and we talked about Deontay Johnson and I was like, hey, my co-host, Matt Armins, he said he's the most important acquisition entirely. They're like, wow, really? And I'm like, hey, he knows his receivers, man.
I'm sure I won't be invited onto whatever show that was after that display. But anyways, I think, look, he's going to help this offense. I think he's going to be super productive and the separator that Bryce Young needs. I think Dave Canales, the vibes are going to be a lot better than they were with Frank Reich last year. Hard to say it'll be any worse. This team won 2 games last year. I'll still go under 5.5 here because they could win 4, they could win 5, and that could be market improvement. And I also think that their defense is going to be worse than it was last year.
That's a pretty good way to put it all up. I think they're going to be under 2, under 6.5, because this roster was just so bad last year, and the quarterback play as well, which partly Bryce Young, partly the system around him. But I just didn't think it was that drastic of an improvement. They're drafting Xavier Legette, fun player, interesting. You're going to give him real reps right away and ask him to run a full route tree right away. Okay. All right. Not what I would do, but all right, sure. I'd kind of prefer maybe the more steady hand initially for a Jalen Polk, a Ladd McConkey, those types that can maybe truly rely on down in and down out. No offense to Xavier Legette. He could be very sound right away. I'm just archetyping
also banged up in the offseason though.
Yes,
that doesn't help.
No, he doesn't. No, it doesn't. Same with Jonathan Mingo. That was his story coming out of college of Ole Miss. Adam Thielen. He's reliable, but he creates about a centimeter of separation. The offensive line, they did try to improve upon. I like the idea of improving the guards and saying, hey, let's help out our smaller quarterback, give him some space to operate and everything. Are they the best guards in the world? No, but they're a little bit of an improvement of what they have. The coaching just has to be better. They were so unsound last year. Ike Ekwonu has nosedived. He went from, a surprising rookie. Yeah. Wow, this is going to be worth it to he looks unplayable at times. And
it was miserable.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird too, because I thought it clicked for him at the end of his rookie year. And that usually you don't see the click and then the unclick in the second year. Yeah, so that's weird. I'm hoping just the situation's better, but who knows? And then that's interesting about the defense that you said. It's, man, you look at that back end. Yeah, it's a little scary, isn't it?
All the good things we said about Brian Burns in the Giants section.
Yeah,
well, he's not on this team anymore, and
Derek Brown rocks, and then J.C. Horn's pretty good.
We get another great season out of Jadeveon Clowney.
The immortal Jadeveon Clowney, just the ultimate mercenary for hire on defense. Yeah, I just can't get overwhelmed with it. And then they draft a hurt running back in Jonathan Brooks. It's just, for this year, I just can't see that jump in improvement. And if it were to see a jump in improvement, it's the quarterback getting markedly better. And I do think it'll be better around it, but it's possible. But that's just, again, we're talking bets here and everything. I think there's going to be improvement, but it's going to be more to there's semblance of averageness here, and not wow, this is good. So yeah, I know. Sorry, Carolina. I wish I could have a little bit more for you, but this is where we're at right now. I do like Canales though. That is a good call. I will say that there. All right, moving on to the Saints. 7.5 wins. New Orleans Saints. Have you been trying to parse through this team? This is a team to parse through. This is a team to really look at every position group and have some real long thoughts. This could be a 3-hour pod just looking at the Saints roster.
I know, which is so funny because I feel as if they're just kind of boring. Like from a public standpoint, they're just, what are we doing here? Dennis Allen's the coach again. Derek Carr's the quarterback again. The offensive line, if you had concerns, the preseason did not make you feel any better.
I've been banging the negative drum and I'm like getting louder with it because I'm like, are we seeing this? I'm like the Energizer Bunny with it.
Which is so unfortunate because I think these receivers are really interesting. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, even A.T. Perry makes the team and I feel like could have a nice role as a sacrificial X receiver for this team so they can do some cool stuff with these other two guys. But they're really, really talking up Taysom Hill. Like they always do it, but they're really doing it this year. That's got to make you nervous. And like this is an yes, like for real, like Yahoo Fantasy's got has to submit to the masses the torch and pitchfork of like, well, he's got to have quarterback tight end eligibility because he's going to play so freaking much. He's going to score points at your tight end position. So like we got to give into the masses there. That's just the offense. We'll see what happens on defense, but I don't know, Nate, I'll just put it to you this way. I do really want to go over here because 7.5 is pretty light. And there are some parts of this roster I'm optimistic on, but like, dude, I just had this random thought in watching one of their preseason games, watching Spencer Rattler in particular. And I'm not some Rattler truther or anything like that. I don't have like strong feelings about Rattler, but could you not see this team being this year's version of the Raiders where just by like week 5, like, okay, that's enough.
Give the young guy a shot.
Let's just fire Dennis Allen, put Clint Kubiak out there as a head coach. Who cares? And let's just start Spencer Rattler and make our way to next season. I could easily see that being the case with this team.
They got an out after potential out with Carr's contract after this year too. So it's not like they're after this year not all the way in there. God, you kind of just nailed it. I look at that because especially if you look like our lads, it starts with the receivers. I'm like, hell yeah, Perry, Olave, Sheed, and then the next one's left tackle, Fuaga. Oh, that's right. The guy that I thought would be best as a guard in the NFL and maybe could see as a right tackle is playing left tackle on a team that will drop
left
back
tackle.
a lot.
No question. Has never been a question. He's just going to be
never been. That's it. With Penning, who is just a bust. I'm not scared to say it. It has not had any semblance of decent play. They have him at right tackle. You only give chip help to one usually. All right, now you got the interior of the offensive line. Eric McCoy's great. Cesar Ruiz is fine. Left guard is just a turnstile already. Like they're just figuring out the bodies. They're trying to get their best 5 out there, and this is their best 5. If it was a quarterback like, let's say a rookie Drake May, yeah, I'd be okay because he'll run around a little bit and it's not going to be great. Derek Carr doesn't scramble. Derek Carr is skittish under pressure. He likes to check the ball down, as we see the Houston Texans game last year when Kamara ended up with 14 catches, I think, that game. That is what I think this offense is going to be week in, week out. It's just going to be, the run game will be whatever. I think the pass game will be, there's going to be a couple big plays, design plays, because the receivers are too good, and Carr will put it out there for him. But I think down in, down out, there are going to be some rough weeks with this offense. And I like the defense. I've really come around on it. There's some good players. They play feisty. They got good guys on all 3 levels. But again, it's not where I'm like, oh, overwhelmed. This is a top 5 defense that can carry it for them. I'm actually going to go under. Under 7.5. But that's where I think they're going to hover. This is a 7-8 win team to me, which is this is what they built. And they just don't have the line to where I think they can push them over the top to something more. So going with the under. You end up going with the slight over.
I'll go slight over. Like I literally will go 8.
I'll go 7.
But perfect. Perfect. It is by the books. Yeah, one is over and one is under.
Nailed it. Another team next on up in the NFC South, also at 7.5 wins, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another summer team for me, but I don't want to spoil it too much. But the Bucs. How are we feeling about the Bucs right now, Matt?
Okay, so they're another team that, and I would love to just do the dumb thing of why is nobody talking about the Bucs in the most saturated industry potentially in the league, which is NFL coverage. Which, hey, let's keep saturating that thing. Let's keep cashing these checks.
Make sure we have the faces for YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta keep working out here. Anyways.
That's all I know. For me. That's the first thing I stare at when we get on camera. I'm like, okay, jowls are okay.
You got to get an ice roller. We'll talk off. We'll talk off air. We'll talk off air. Anyways, they're a team that I do think has gotten a little under discussed this offseason, just because there's so much attention paid to the Falcons. Other teams in the division are a little interesting, but I've gotten more and more just enthusiastic and kind of like, I think the Bucs are going to win this division, because I don't love, and part of me thought originally, like, I don't love just doubling down on like last year's core. Let's just run it all back. I get that. Liam Cohen coming in for Dave Canales, I think, maybe a lateral move at best, certainly not an upgrade. But I do think that these players are really good, and I think they got some surprising performances out of like Kalijah Kancey last year. I think they got some really nice performances out of like Yaya Diaby as well on defense. And then Antoine Winfield's a star. They trade Carlton Davis, but they had some good performances from like Jamel Dean last year, so I think we can run that back and feel pretty good on defense. And Todd Bowles is always going to get you to, like, he's a floor setter on defense and even kind of like a ceiling reacher at times too, just because conceptually what he can do to bad quarterbacks. And on offense, man, like I'm in on the Jalen McMillan outside receiver thing. I didn't love McMillan as a slot. Like, I didn't love him as a prospect, but when they start talking him up as an outside receiver because they want to move Chris Godwin to the slot, which I know you and I are both in on that.
Warning bells were going off a little bit for me.
So I actually think I can see it here with Jalen McMillan and as an outside receiver, which again, I'm with you. At first I was like, I don't know if I love that. Because I thought he was just kind of like a mid slot receiver prospect. But if like looking at his reception perception profile, he was a 19th percentile player against zone. He was a 49th percentile player against man coverage, which actually is, 49th percentile, whatever. But he's a little bit better like on these quick hitting routes against man coverage. And I don't think they really had that guy as that second receiver last year, because Godwin's not that type of guy. Again, I think I like him in the power slot role. Mike Evans is Mike Evans. I love what they did with him as a route concept standpoint. So I'm in on the offense, at least maintaining what it was last year. It's kind of like not a boom busty offense. So I'll go over on their win total here pretty convincingly.
Yeah, I'm over. I'm right there with you. This team went from an afterthought for me, and I'll be open on it. And I've talked with Charles about this. Really an afterthought if I'm studying 32 teams. Yeah, they're probably one of the last 5 teams I'm studying. In the last month, when I've kind of really dove in, because I was like, I know most of these players, and I really look at them, looking at other rosters, looking at this division, seeing what they did last year, which on an incomplete team, and I think, and it's not that any team's complete, this team's a little bit better, at least filling out some of the gaps and everything. It's just, yeah, I trust it a little bit more than others, even with the new play caller on offense, because you mentioned all the defense guys, improvement for some of those young guys, or better play than some of those young guys. Good players at all 3 levels, which matters. A defensive system they all know like the back of their hand, because they've been in it for 5 years now. And that defense, it's great because, especially in a division like this, yeah, it's a bad QB beater. It's all right, what do you got? What's a bad protection beater as the season goes along? The offense for me, Baker and by nature is going to be boom busty, but he plays with a receiver that's perfect for it in Evans. Even if you say that he drops off a little bit, he's more middle of the pack on passing downs, on third down, as opposed to top 10 as he was in a lot of other stuff. The run game, I think, is just going to be so much better and so much more cohesive, so much more efficient, that it'll trade off some of the boom bustness of the pass game, that the run game kind of offsets that a little bit, where they're not so many third and longs. Now they can get some better situations for that. And McMillan's a great shout out. Graham Barton, their first round rookie, I won't shut up about. Yeah. And then once he gets into preseason, he looks exactly how I thought he looked.
Looks
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
I won't stop talking about Barton, because he is going to change that whole offense. And
I totally agree.
People think I'm kidding about it. I'm dead serious. Just watch it. Him, and then the right guard, Cody Mock, improving. Mock was unplayable last year, and now looks like he's okay, which is better than unplayable. But going from okay at center to what I think is already very good, or good, we'll say, as a rookie, a good solid right tackle in Gedeke, and one of the best left tackles of the game, Tristan Wirfs, and left guard's kind of NPC for him. But that's better than last year where all three middle positions were, whatever. Gedeke was fine, improved. That run game's going to be better. Rashad White's in an offense that makes more sense for him with some of the Cohen stuff. I know Canales is a little bit of everybody, his offense, but Cohen being the true, more McVay guy. Rashad White, the former receiver, kind of makes sense in this offense. And they got him a backup that makes sense too in Bucky Irving. So, yeah, I really came along in this team that I think the defense will be good. I think the offense will be fine at least and have moments where they're tough because of how good their players are. So, yeah, Bucks ended up being over in my prediction for the division winner as well. Kind of. Yeah, the Bucks and the Seahawks. They've been my summer teams. That's the best way to describe it. It's because we're returning so many guys.
Does this mean, to transition us to the Falcons, does this mean that you're under on the Falcons?
I am under on the Falcons.
Ooh.
You want me? Yeah. I do think the offense will be improved because it's not Ritter. Quarterback, it's Cousins. Cousins last year, even coming off an Achilles and all that, he doesn't win with movement. He moves in the pocket well. He wins by pushing the ball, operating from the pocket. Good. Okay, fine. Offensive line's solid, getting a little overrated. Drew Dahlman's okay. Lindstrom's good. Left guard Bergeron's pretty good. McGarry's not good. And Matthews is fine.
Yeah, usually when people talk about McGarry, the first thing they say is, well, they paid him. And it's like, well, that doesn't always mean everything.
It doesn't matter. Maybe it's because they just could, all that. Yeah. And this offense will be fine for him. I think Drake London's going to have his breakout year. Pitts will be better. I think this offense will be good for him. So like the offense, I think Bijan is one of my dark horse picks for offensive player of the year. Actually, it's a straight up pick. I think that's spoilers for next week's show. That's what we're doing Tuesday, by the way, awards. But yeah, it's the defense. And I know they added Judon. I know they added Simmons. Jimmy Lake doesn't do much for me at defensive coordinator. Raheem Morris and the Rams did a great job of hodgepodging what they had. They had Aaron Donald, and that did a lot of lifting for what they try to accomplish. It wasn't great. It was like 22nd, and it was more just like, wow, that's good that they got to 22nd, as opposed to like, no, that's actually a good unit. And that's what scares me is, okay, you guys can get a bunch of shootouts. Cousins is coming off an Achilles. You never know if there's other injuries that are to come. He's not a big guy. And so I have all those concerns where I think this could be a fine team, but it's more of an 8 or 9 win team, not an overwhelming, holy crap, easy runs away with the division. I think it's them and the Bucks are going to be competing for it. So I'm going to go under. That defense it doesn't get me. I like AJ Terrell. I like the back end, the Bates and Simmons. Simmons going to take a little drop off though. He did last year. Defensive front. Judon is good, but he's a tight end killer. And he really benefited from how the Patriots ran their defense. So again, it just doesn't add up to me where I'm like, yeah, I'm all on board with all these guys like everybody else is. I think it's more of a fine team. They'll have a really fun offense, I think.
I'm pretty much with you there. I want to be more optimistic about this team, but the defense is definitely a tough thing to get around, and just that could be a bottom 5 unit, which like for fantasy, if we want to talk about these players, like that could end up being a good thing on offense.
Great.
They're in a lot and I also think we do need to have a little bit of a come to Jesus moment about the Kirk Cousins stuff where like it's better than Ritter. No question. It'll even be better than 2022 Marcus Mariota, where by the way, they were 11th in offensive success rate. In 19.
Don't have to tell me.
I was going to say, I know.
These are all the stats I threw at people, and no one gave a when that thing blew up my face. I have podcast after podcast, tweet after tweet defending, and have all these disclaimers, all this back. No one cared. No one cared in the end. It was a great learning experience, Matt.
Yep. Nope. All that matters is the bottom line and what really happens. Yeah. Welcome to
media.
Yeah. Welcome to media, baby. But yeah, no, for real. Like, I think with the Kirk Cousins stuff, he's better than Ritter, but he's an older quarterback coming off an Achilles. And we always look at the end result with Kirk Cousins. We're like, oh, he was the 12th best quarterback in the league.
It's 6 most yards. Yeah.
But it was always it's always a journey to get there. Like there's a lot of peaks and valleys where he's playing like the worst quarterback in the league for 3 weeks and then the best quarterback in the league for 3 weeks. And we ended on a really good stretch there in Minnesota before he got injured. But the season before was one of his least efficient seasons from a yards per attempt, adjusted yards per attempt perspective. I just don't know what guy we're going to get consistently for 17 games. I know that guy is going to be better than Desmond Ritter. I know that. But is he going to be good enough to make this a playoff team with a roster that is, I don't think drop a quarterback in there and we're Super Bowl ready. Even offensively, I love Drake London. I'm a Drake London guy. I think by the end of the year, he will be considered a tier 2 NFL receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He will be not an elite player, but like a firmly superstar receiver. I think this coaching staff is perfectly suited to get more out of him from an alignment perspective, where, you know, I've defended our guy Arthur Smith more than most the last few seasons, but he pretty much just stuck Drake London out at X receiver, and especially last year because Ritter can't read the middle of the field. It's a lot of like curl routes. So I think London's deployment will look dramatically different, but then we've got Darnell Mooney as an outside receiver, like Ray McLeod. Yeah, as the X, and Ray McLeod's the other guy. It starts to look pretty concerning. Yeah. So I'll also call them a 9-win team here, which means I have to say that they're under.
Yeah, that's it. I know, Ray McLeod wearing number 34.
Oh, I mean, that's despicable.
Oh, was
that's
he a walk-on?
Almost Sky Moore 24 bad. I mean,
yeah, that one's pretty rough too.
That's brutal. I liked Sky Moore as a prospect.
Yeah.
Another guy like low level of competition, really good reception perception score. So you always got to kind of do that asterisk there. But I liked him as a 2nd-round pick. You see him on film in the NFL, it's already disaster enough, and it's just like, geez, God Almighty, we're wearing 24. This is not a pleasant experience.
That's like, yeah, you have to be a stud player to like pull off a number. Like Steven Jackson wore 39, which is an ugly number in my opinion. Looks good.
And you're like, damn, that looks good. And then you see it on
Mink
Lawrence Maroney, and you're like, maybe not.
Mink Fitzpatrick, hell yeah. Yeah, go for it. Or Kamara wearing 41. Yeah, he wears 41. Sweet. Then you see the linebacker for the Raiders wearing it, and you're like, Wait, make that 44 or something a little bit better. I also, there's no Justin Jefferson, as much as I like Drake London. I'm glad you brought up the Darnell Mooney thing, because that's got me worried, and the Ray McLeod thing. Also, are we forgetting about the Kirk Cousins tier? Like that this was the joke for years now, that these are the middle ground quarterbacks. Which Cousins do you have? Do you have Carr? Do you have Jimmy G? That was always the joke. Kirk was kind of the best version of it. Goff was in this group for a while. Purdy, I guess, is in it now. But yeah, I don't know. It's not like Kirk Cousins is like, it's not, you're getting Brady, Peyton Manning, those guys that are future Hall of Famers. I like Kirk too, and he was having a good year, but I'm glad we're kind of throwing some cold water on it.